I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States. In pursuit of this obligation, since 1947, we have received and analyzed between 1,000 and 2,000 reports that have come to us from all kinds of sources. Of this great mass of reports, we have been able adequately to explain the great bulk of them, explain them to our own satisfaction. We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena, or as light aberrations.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Now, that said, we certainly take seriously the threat that can be posed by unmanned aircraft systems, which is why law enforcement and other agencies continue to support New Jersey and investigate the reports, even though they have uncovered no malicious activity or intent at this particular stage.
The U.S. Air Force says unidentified drones have been spotted over 4 joint U.S. and U.K. military bases in England. The mysterious drones have repeatedly appeared for over a week now.
House Speaker Johnson and Senate staff as well are getting briefed today about those mysterious SUV-sized drones spotted in the skies over New Jersey. More drones were reportedly spotted over warships off the West Coast, over nuclear sites across the West, even over the CIA in Langley, Virginia. An official with the White House National Security Council saying there's no evidence the drones are a national security threat.
They've been incredibly stupid and incredibly weak with this. Here's the point. We know they're not backyard drones that some hobbyist is using because they're much more sophisticated than that. We know that they're not a commercial company within the United States because we don't even have this level of sophistication yet. We are a full decade behind where China is with drones. The government claims it's not them. They say it's not them. So who is it? Well, I had credible individuals who have high security ratings, and they came to me. And again, these are dependable, credible individuals that have security clearance that felt that they wanted to clear the air. They were in essence whistleblowers and said, look, they believe there's a real possibility it could be Iran, that there could be a ship out, not right on the coast of New Jersey, not right there, but these drones, as cited by the Coast Guard, are coming in and out of the ocean. They're going to the ocean. They're not pontoons. They're not landing on the water. They're landing on something. We're not being told the truth. They are dealing with the American public like we're stupid. And again, understand these drones are sophisticated systems, ones that we don't have, that we don't normally see, and we need some real substantive answers. This has been going on for almost 1 month.
You know, sometimes I feel like I'm in the twilight zone up here. Like month after month, people come before us, they testify. You don't get a lot of answers, and it's concerning, it's frustrating. You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct? That's right. It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are.
Patterson Tower, Medflight 1900 feet, about 7 miles southwest of the field by transition here, Delta Northeast Mountain. Medflight 8 Patterson Tower, use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base security forces is handling the situation suggests at or above 1700 AGL. That we will maintain 2000 and on our transition for med flight 8. And I gotta keep the lights down so that security forces can see. Roger that, no problem. Position approved, sir. Approved, med flight 8. Med flight 8 tower. Ahead for med flight 8. Hey sir, you're still approved through our class Delta. After you leave, Columbus is going to sterilize the class Delta as of 0330 Zulu. Patterson class Delta is closed after your transition. I'm sorry about that. You got stepped on by other traffic. Can you say again? Yes, sir. Your transition is still approved. However, Patterson class Delta is sterilized as of 0330 Zulu for heavy unknown UAS activity. Security forces is handling it, and Columbus is going to sterilize the airspace after you leave the Delta. Roger that. No problem. Thank you. All aircraft use extreme caution. Patterson class Delta is now closed for heavy UAS activity.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big dislike.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know that they're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been?
Do you have any reason to think they're?
However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things. It is this group of observations that we now are attempting to resolve. Our basic difficulty in dealing with these is that there is no measurement of them that makes it possible for us to put them in any pattern that would be profitable for a deliberate, custom sort of analysis to take the next step. We have, as of date, come to only one firm conclusion with respect to this remaining percentage, and that is that it does not contain any pattern of purpose or of consistency that we can relate with to any conceivable threat to the United States.
Welcome to Through a Glass Darkly Radio. You're listening to us on United Public Radio. And the intro song, it was Mark of the Doomslayer by Carl Casey at Whiteback Audio. And I hope you enjoyed the little teaser on the run up to this. But without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Richard Geldreich, Jr. He's a software engineer and researcher who has made notable contributions to both the technology and UFO research communities. While he is recognized for his technical expertise in areas such as compression algorithms and GPU programming, Geldreich has increasingly focused on the study of UFO phenomena and government cover-ups. His presentations and writings delve into historical investigations, including the role of radar and early military projects in UFO detection. Geldreich's work in this field has highlighted significant gaps in publicly available data, suggesting deliberate suppression or loss of crucial information related to UFO sightings and encounters. So, without further ado, welcome, Richard. Always good to see you, my friend.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I look like hell. I've been working nonstop.
Nobody cares. Everybody's here for you. Nobody cares about me either. They're here for you. They're definitely here for you.
Yeah.
By the way,
from Jersey, it's been crazy since.
By the way, thank you for, as part of the work that you do is archiving a lot of this information. So almost the entirety of what I showed, despite the editing, aside from the editing, that was all from videos that you grabbed from the internet while this was happening, so that if any of it disappeared, you have it on backup.
We have it. Yeah, I have almost 900 videos now, probably 950, remember on that range. And also, I've had people on X helping. They send me links. We're crowdsourcing this. So yeah, and the thing is, as a researcher, I purposely went back in time really far to 47 and before that. And what I found was everything disappears. It's like half the shit. It's like gone. How do you get it? So we're only working with incomplete data, and so I want to make sure that future researchers can benefit from all the work that we're doing now, because I know that half the shit's going to disappear.
All right. Well, it's all you.
All right.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to look at comments while you're pulling it up. Yep, you can.
I'm going to
hit the present.
One sec. I'm just going to share. I'm just going to share the entire screen. That'll work. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, let me add it to stage. There we go.
Awesome. How's it look?
Looks great.
Okay, awesome.
I'm just going to decide it, when.
Yeah, and by the way, Sean, feel free to chime in at any time here. I could use help with this. This is a lot of information. Okay. So here's the deal. I got a call from New Jersey. It was in mid-November, and I have a lot of friends. I grew up in New Jersey. I have a lot of friends and family there, and they said that, hey, there's weird shit going on down here. You should start checking this out right now. And so I went on X, and the information just started flooding in. And so I'm basically going to present a summary of all that information that I've compiled. The chronology that's referred to here, you can go on X to my account, and I think it's RichGel999. You can there's a link to the chronology. It's also on my Medium as well. And so this is all public domain. I don't own this. It's not copyrighted. And so basically, there's been a lot of, as there's been a large amount of sightings on multiple continents. And so, in my opinion, we're now in another major UAP wave. And so here's the methodology I've been following. And just so you know, where does this data come from? So from my perspective, I haven't seen, I might have seen one UAP in my entire life. I haven't seen anything. I'm in PA right now. Haven't seen anything. However, I've noticed an enormous uptick of data being generated, like related to UAPs or to drones or that kind of activity. So here's the methodology that I'm following. UAP waves are enormous data generation events, modern UAP waves. They're hectic, they're crazy, shit happens. So during this wave, what I've done so far is I've gathered every news report I could find on X using Google Alerts, Google searches, DuckDuckGo, whatever, friends, and just saving it somewhere, saving it in a file. I first put it on GitHub early on, and now I've put it in more compiled form, organized form on Medium. So I've gathered tons and tons of official reports for sensitive sites and air bases. So I've made a list of them, and others have as well on X. But very importantly, I've backed up each sensitive site and air base with, okay, well, here is the official report or news report or the TFR, that related to this air base. So there's a bunch of air bases we got, which we have like, maybe some eyewitnesses a few miles away said they claim they saw a drone. Well, I'm trying to up the signal and noise ratio. I think a lot of us are functioning with very little actual real information or intelligence. I've got a small network of ex-military, ex-police, and Coast Guard people that can send DMs. Some of them sent DD-214s, and I've gotten their reports as well. This is an old-fashioned, UFO fault saucer, UAP technique for rumors. And we've gotten quite a few rumors on X. What I've done is I've checked for associated search engine traffic. I'm assuming everybody's panicking and their hair's on fire and they're running around and they just forget stuff and they search for things. And it turns out, actually, they do. And I have some statistics near the end. It's amazing. There's also been quite a few leaks that have occurred on X, which have helped out quite a bit. Okay, so one new tool, relatively new tool, in the last few years is AI summarization. It just keeps getting better and better. So now I can take a news article, put everything into a text file, have AI summarize it, and then pop that in my chronology. I can transcribe videos that don't have good transcriptions or any transcriptions with Whisper. Then I can summarize that rapidly. That's super valuable. So I can take a 2-hour news or 1 hour, podcast or news video, and then boom, just get a summary like that. It's awesome. Everything has to be backed up. I've learned the hard way. As soon as you see something, you see a tweet, you see a video, a newscast, a news article, back it up. So I've done my best to put things on archive.ph and archive.org. That's it's like pinning them down, using some kind of courtroom terminology. Pin it down. We're pinning down history. So any kind of memory holding is going to be very hard to do. I've downloaded all videos locally. Every time I see a video, boom, just download it. I've crowdsourced the problem on X, so I have thousands of people, I'm talking to constantly, and they're always discussing the problem. We're sending DMs. We have a whole network of DMs behind the scenes that's constantly exchanging information. So I already mentioned this. I have a large chronology. That's what this presentation is basically going to summarize and analyze. And I got to emphasize this enough. If you're not using AI for this sort of research or coding, you're really missing out. It's a game changer. Okay, so real fast, what is OSINT? Because I've had that question before. I don't claim to be any kind of OSINT expert. There are legit experts that function in that field. For example, about the Ukraine war situation. My little specialty is I like to just gather a whole bunch of information, process it and analyze it and save it and archive it. And so a lot of this information is like social networks, blogs, news sites, forums, press, etc. I'm a programmer as well. I've been programming since late 1985. And so I can easily put together custom Python scripts and even C++ apps to help collate and help make this data searchable. And so I got these two images from the web, by the way. I didn't make them. Okay, so where's all the data from? And so I don't know if you could read this or not, but I gave the entire chronology to O1 Pro from OpenAI, and I said, give me all the sources. What's in there? And I double checked it. And it's ABC News, CBS, Enigma Labs, Picatinny Arsenal official statements through Stars and Stripes, Philadelphia Inquirer, NBC News, Morristown, New Jersey Police Department. I can go on and on and on and on. So I'm trying to elevate, try to get the highest signal noise ratio we can get. I've got Ryan Graves, who has a whistleblower talking about a mid-air collision during December. All kinds of sources. Of course, Ross Coulthart, who has a great show on News Nation. It's just endless. So there's a whole bunch of everybody's hard on the legacy media, but for emergency events or emerging events like this, it's invaluable. We would be kind of lost without them. Okay, so I wanted to put this out there because this is being discussed right now. Are the drones from China? Are they from Iran? Are they from sleeper cells, Putin's sleeper cells or something like that? I really personally highly doubt it.
One would think the answer to this question is relatively obvious, but for the general population, it's not so obvious.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've been looking for quotes. I've been looking for others who are experts in this domain and trying to figure out, okay, what do they think? And so Lou Elizondo on this. I watched this live when he was talking, December 18th, 2020 on News Nation. He said that when asked, is this a foreign adversary? And he said it's not. And he commented that the infrastructure required would be obscene. We're talking about over the horizon and beyond line of sight coordination of telemetry data and maneuvering these things. We're talking about having to launch them, recover them, and loiter for 5, or more hours, traveling tens or hundreds of miles. The infrastructure it'll be a large footprint. Is basically what he said, and I thoroughly agree with him. any foreign adversary that did this sort of large-scale, multi-continent, multi-month or week, whatever operation, we would detect it. We have satellite assets. We've got, hundreds of bases all over the world. It's not. It's, in my opinion, it's not China. It's not Iran. It's kind of silly to even go there. However, with that being said, of course, it could be possible a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, maybe China could develop a drone, some sort of advanced drone, right? I'm not saying that's not possible. They could put these on subs.
Well, to be fair, if there's any place where China could make innovations, it's with advanced drones. Now, launching drones from a submarine is a non-trivial problem. That's one thing, but also deploying a blue fleet navy, right, is also a major challenge for China. They typically operate off their littoral coasts, but rarely range out beyond that. To have them go all the way to the Atlantic Ocean would be a logistical nightmare. I mean, I think they barely, they can't do that with their carriers, right? Which
they've had two subs sink that we know about in the last couple.
And they have diesel subs too. They're not nuclear subs, so they're relatively noisy. We would be all over them. You'd see P3 Orions going all over the coasts. So the fact that this is even a narrative is ridiculous. And let alone, not only do you have to solve the blue fleet problem, the drone problem, or the deployment of a drone from a submarine problem, but you would also have to solve for the anti-gravity problem, right? By
the way, these things have been seen up to 55,000 feet. They outrun helicopters. They go dark when we get near them, when our planes get near them. They just go dark. They accelerate away. I'm quoting, others who said, other pilots, stuff like that. I have it later on here. So anyway, I want to give. So here's the deal. My narrative, my personal narrative. This is what I'm going to throw in here. Is I believe personally that some of these sightings are UAPs. I'm going to stick with the drone. I'm kind of quoting someone from SCU when I say stick. But this is my narrative, that I believe there's a long history of this. This has been happening for a long time. We've had many sensitive site airspace violations. We've had many mass orb sightings. A whole lot of videos that have emerged recently seem to be orb or metallic orbs or luminous orbs. And so I just wanted to real fast cover some of the context here, and I've thoroughly researched this. And I have a massive chronology. It's 55,000 entries on GitHub that has all these individual entries. And I just cherry picked like 3 of them. I found one from New Jersey. So during World War II, there was the Foo Fighters. They were seen over the Pacific Theater and over Germany. And they seem to appear at least in the chronologies near the end of the war. And they would follow our fighters, and they would cause all sorts of anomalies with compasses on planes. They were seen by many pilots over multiple theaters. And so it seemed to emerge near the end. Now, maybe that doesn't, I'm not saying it wasn't occurring towards the entire war. There's also been discussions from like David Grush and stuff that UAPs been overflying our sensitive sites during all of World War II. So anyway, just real fast, right? Roswell Day 7, that's the announcement. 7/8/1947 is a key day because that's also the day, plus or minus 1 or 2 or so days, where the sightings peak in the summer of 1947 wave. And multiple researchers have investigated this wave, some of them quite famous. And so what I found really interesting is the orb reports also seem to peak approximately around that date too. And we've got some really interesting ones. We've got, I think personally, the one I find most interesting because there's also some photos taken in the area. Phoenix, Arizona, 80 plus observers. Larry Hatch compiled this report as a programmer researcher from a few decades ago. And he reported that two large silver orbs going quickly east, one high, one low, no wind. There was a photograph taken. And he also put this is a summary, a gray ovoid. So that's a day before Roswell. And I have some others of one in Patterson, New Jersey, moon-sized sphere orb glowing or globe, skims along southwest going northeast. And then there's another one, same day, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, silver orb shot towards the southwest, faster than a plane. Now, I want to emphasize something. These orb sightings are off the charts. It's just constant over and over and over again. Orbs, sphere, metallics, ovoid, things like that. The Soviets as well in UFO Glasnost, early 90s. This was a book written right before the USSR collapsed. and their researchers also reported that many orbs were sighted over the USSR decades ago. They had a large number of them, and they started sighting things on radar and starting at 47. So another thing I want to comment on real fast is right before Washington, D.C. was overflown on 7/2/1952, we have the famous Tremerton film. And now it was analyzed by the U.S. Navy Marine Photo Interpretation Laboratory for over 1,000 hours. This is part of our lore, part of our history now. This is all well-known information. So this was a motion picture taken on the spot by chief photographer, active duty commissioned warrant officer in the U.S. Navy, Dilbert C. Newhouse. It's called the Tremerton film. And after the United States Air Force and the U.S. Navy analyzed it, they came to the conclusion that they were accelerating at 25 G. So this film was so famous back then that the 1953 Robertson panel, who decided to cover up the UAP situation as best they could, they actually, I believe, they debunked this specific film. They said it was geese, and I have a shot from it here. So history's repeating itself. So on the left, I just have one frame from the film. I got from actually YouTube. And so that was taken by an active duty U.S. Navy guy right before DC was overflown. And then here's the thing: we keep seeing these videos showing these small, brightly illuminated, non-blinking. At least I don't see any blinking for these orbs. The drones are a whole different situation. I'm saying these luminous spherical-like objects, either at day or mostly night. They really remind me strongly of the the Tremerton film a lot. So I believe that we're seeing orbs. Is my hunch here. I think there's a lot of historical precedents for this. And so, by the way, this video, which you can find on X and also on my chronology, this was taken by Senator Andy Kim, New Jersey Senator Andy Kim.
And the other thing that I think that's worth noting to people is that a number of these things can all be true at the same time. So some people are misidentifying aircraft because they're aircraft in the sky and they never look up, and now they're looking up for the first time. Some people are seeing actual drones that are being sent up to observe these drones. And then there are objects that are flying at crazy altitudes, like the object that hit a Gulfstream aircraft off the coast of Florida, traveling at upwards of 27,000 feet. Right, that ain't going to be a hobbyist drone.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly, and so, you're absolutely right. Like historically speaking, depending on the time period, 5 to 20% of the sightings were claimed to be unknown. And so it depends. I think from what I can hear in my research, it depends on the time period. You'll get many claims. Only 4% were unknown or 2% were unknown. However, it can go up to 20% unknown. And I think it's the same today. I think we're getting a lot of mistaken. People are just not used to looking up and videoing things, right? Like, oh my God, it's a drone, and actually it could be a plane. The thing is, that does not weaken my argument that some of these are UAPs. We are used to this. This is not a new phenomenon. There's many mistaken sightings. We don't care about them. We care about the ones that are anomalous. Okay, so I want to go back to 1947 again. So this is some new research I've done. So balloons. Let's talk about balloons real fast. So right now we're using the word drone, and words are very, very powerful. We're showing pictures of drones. We're talking about drones. Hold on a second. In the old days, it was balloons, skyhook balloons, mogul balloons. It's all over the newspapers. So here you go, like balloons everywhere. Oh, they're just balloons, right? Well, I did some simple analysis on newspapers.com. So newspapers.com has a massive, I think there's 1 billion articles now. It's huge. It keeps growing like every month. They get more and more scanned physical newspapers scanned into their digital database. And so what I found is that they have easily over 1 million UAP term related hits. It's really probably 2 to 3 million. And I could explain why, but I've covered that elsewhere. But they have a lot of hits for flying discs, flying saucers, identify flying object, things like that. So anyway, I did a search for just, balloons, weather balloons or weather balloon. And I did it first. I actually drilled down into July and I posted on Twitter, but I also did it for January 47 to December. So I just want to know in the newspaper articles, how many times did the phrase weather balloon appear? And it explodes in July. Now, that's really interesting because according to a researcher from 2001 named David Rudiak, and I have a link to his website, he did some amazing research here. In 2001, this was much harder. He wrote that the day after Roswell, the U.S. military engaged in a PR campaign. Now, there's also something called the Ramey memo, where Ramey, you can research this, you can go to his website and look at it, where Ramey, we now know that he actually was talking about using Army CIC, that's counterintelligence, to use this as a PR effort. So they set up 9 military balloon demonstrations in various parts of the country. And they put up, you actually see it the bottom left here on this slide. I believe that is from, I'm not positive, but it was probably something like that if it's not that picture. And they basically tried to tell the public the day after Roswell that, hey, it's just balloons. And I have at least one press thing from the day after Roswell here. It's the taxes are being cut. Yeah, House 302. Pretty sure that's the day after Roswell. Yeah. And so they basically said, hey, we're going to lower taxes. And it was all balloons. Go back to sleep. Well, here we are today with drones. History's repeating itself. And so I'm going to move way forward to around 2016 and after. So recent context. There have actually been many, and I think Sean just mentioned one. There have been many instances of police helicopter or Customs Border Patrol helicopters chasing super capable drones where they get outran, they accelerate away. And these things have appeared over air bases, national security sites, just you name it. We've had Langley Air Force Base incursions that lasted weeks, 15, 20 drones at a time. A range of drone swarms were countered. It got so bad at Langley they had to relocate an air wing. Like, it's been pretty serious. That's pretty serious. So we also had this just came out through the media too. Fox News. 5 mysterious drones reportedly breached restricted airspace over government nuclear weapons experiment site in Nevada. They were detected by the Energy Department's Nevada National Security Site. That sounds really close to Area 51, outside Las Vegas, while the 5th was spotted by employees. So this is an ongoing situation. However, it's flared. That's my opinion. Okay, and so the war zone has covered this intensely. Okay, so more context. August 2024. It's emerged in the media, News Nation, and some other new media websites that Dr. Leroy, forgive me how to pronounce his last name, Chow, had a near collision in late 2024. This is just a few months before the mystery drones exploded. He was flying over the Texas Panhandle, going from Colorado to Houston at 9,000 feet. 2 small metallic orb objects zipped past his plane, missed him by 20 feet. He's gone on record that this happened, and there's media covering it. And what's really interesting about this to me is this is just like history repeating itself again. Kenneth Arnold's sighting was right before the saucer situation, the UAP situation, the orb situation exploded all over the country, Canada and Mexico in June 1947. So here we are. But now, instead of just an aviator looking for a downed military plane, we have an ex-astronaut, a significant one, a shuttle commander, and an aviator seeing something. That's I think historically this is quite significant. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual mystery drone wave itself. We believe it started on November 18th. That's the popular date being tossed around. I suspect there were reports before that. We just have to find them. So we have to go through the National UFO Reporting Center and go through X and other places and find. I think we're going to see others. But that's when it's said to emerge, around the 18th or 19th. It's primarily from the data that we've been able to get. It's primarily New Jersey, also PA, New York, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, Ohio, D.C. I can continue. There's also more states, like Barksdale Air Force Base. There's been videos from Florida, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California, Nevada. It just goes on and on. There's air traffic control recordings in Oregon. Lots of videos on X from Texas. Internationally, multiple RAF bases, which I'll cover later. We've had Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany, the BASF plant, Rheinmetall. So it's not just air bases in Germany. It's also, I guess you can label them like industrial sites or more sensitive industrial sites. Just in the last few hours, like I say, 24, 48 or so hours, we have Denmark, the Code Marina near Copenhagen, I think it's like a 25, 30-minute drive or so. We had the Iwakani Airport and MCAS. I think that's the Marines. We've had that airport shut down because of drone activity. And also on X, there have been many videos around this time from Argentina and Scotland of unknown veracity. I don't know how real they are, but they have these 2 places that popped up. So common themes are nighttime swarms of large drones. However, we do have a really interesting video from Atlantic City daytime showing what appears to be a plasmoid orb from an ex-U.S. Air Force guy. They're hovering near or flying over military installations, infrastructure, and nuke plants. Evasive behavior when pursued, there were multiple reports of that. Reportedly, the lights go off and they accelerate away. No definitive cause identified. There are a huge amount of rumors and narratives. They're running absolutely wild right now. Okay, so this first emerged. I tried to find the earliest photos. This is what I found. This is from Morristown, New Jersey, from New Jersey Fire Alert. From what I can determine, the fire departments or the fire professionals were some of the first New Jersey to raise the alarm that there's something up, there's something going on. And their community started to point it out first. Right, and a few hours later, then the police community in New Jersey officially started to issue alerts and advisories. And so these are some of the earliest photos I could find right here. And they look like orbs, that's interesting. And so you can find all this on my chronology and it's linked to and stuff. And I've also backed up everything too on archive.ph. Okay. So New Jersey emerges as the epicenter, which is my home state. So I feel a connection. Obviously I'm only a few miles away from Jersey. I take this very seriously. I have my friends and family being overflown by something. And so Morris and Somerset counties are some of the first counties that we're aware of where reports came up, official reports. I already kind of covered this. Large drones spotted at night, police sightings hovering and moving silently. Lots of social media videos started emerging. Morristown, New Jersey Police Department issued an official drone advisory, which I have here. The Morristown County prosecutor's office states that no known threat, but urges vigilance, which is like, if you don't know what it is, how do you know it's not a threat? The FAA imposed a TFR or temporary flight restriction over President-elect Trump's Bedminster Golf Course soon after. So, and also Piccadilly Arsenal. So I did some research and I found that, yes, indeed, Morristown, New Jersey did issue an official advisory. This is really interesting because this is November 24th. And at this time, the down drone narrative wasn't established on X, to what I remember. Not strongly, if it was. And we definitely, this is for one of the earliest emergencies of this through the Morristown, New Jersey Police Department. And they're like, hey, in the event that a drone crashes or lands, do not approach or handle it, which is good advice. Contact 911. So yeah, I linked to this on the in the chronology. Okay. So initially there were a handful of TFRs. However, the officials did not react very quickly to establishing flight restrictions, drone flight restrictions over other areas. So they issued TFRs over Bedminster Golf Course and Piccadilly Arsenal. Those came up fairly fast, within a few days. But then there was a long delay before more TFRs kicked in. The FBI got involved, or they set up an official investigation, launched around early December. They set up a tip line or a broadcast tip lines, things like that. They reportedly received thousands of reports. I've heard different numbers. I've heard 3K, I've heard 5K. The New Jersey State Police also received many thousands of reports as well. So yeah, local police gave advisories. Okay. So,
by the way, some members of the audience are reporting that there was a sighting over JFK Airport.
I saw that
before 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. I
know. I saw that. I just retweeted that. And also, there's a witness to that who's also active on X right now, who's not anonymous. His name's out there. He's from Canada. It looks like he's from Canada. Who's there? So yeah, this is happening right now. We're actually covering an active wave.
It's not over.
It ain't
it's
over.
Not over.
This is no way over.
Right.
Yeah. So I gotta emphasize. I gotta put this out there for other researchers in the future. If you've not been through a UAP wave, it's like a war zone, a party. It's intense. It's crazy too. Shit accelerates when you're being overflowed. Shit gets real. When Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is being shut down or nuclear plants are on alert, shit happens. Shit gets real. So there have also been overseas incidents that emerged as well. So this is all pretty well-known stuff at this point. RAF Lakenheath, Mildenhall, Fairford, Feltwell, and I think others. I'm not an expert what's going on in the UK. Just summarizing what the news reported here.
Yeah, the important thing to note about the UK is that there had been chatter since, I think, January 2024 about moving B-61-12 nuclear gravity bombs, which are, I think, a little over 3 times. I think it's like
that was covered in the media. That was covered in the media too. Remember?
Early in January, and then right about when they moved them, I think I speculated openly on Twitter that we probably just moved these gravity bombs to Lakenheath. And a few days later, the media confirmed that they may have been moved there. So that's kind of when, if it had started, it was escalating when we moved these gravity bombs.
Yeah, the Ukraine war escalated dramatically on November 21st. That's when the Russians launched a hypersonic MIRV and hit a former industrial complex in Ereshnik,
right?
Ereshnik, yeah.
The Slavic version of Hazlett, believe it or not.
So, yeah, drones over restricted airspaces. UK Civil Aviation Authority has issued flight restrictions. Pentagon, we're taking this seriously. That's great. Germany, that emerged. So here's the deal. It actually, I think from memory, it emerged in December, but the actual news articles referred to late November. So there was drone activity over the BASF chemical plant and Rheinmetall arms facilities. Ramstein Air Base confirmed unidentified UAV activity. I feel very strongly, by the way, that we are only seeing a tip of the iceberg. I'm going to bet you $1 million that a lot of these reports are secret. We're not hearing. I bet you we're only hearing about 10% of them or something, maybe 5%. It's possible that many where air bases have been overflown, and we'll get leaks over the next 3 to 5 years about what actually has happened.
Oh yeah, but by the way, I was talking to Grant Cameron right before this live stream, and he mentioned this about the War of the Worlds radio broadcast. It started in Grover's Mill, New Jersey. So just a weird synchronicity related to all
Hey,
this.
Jersey, everybody wants to be in Jersey. I could make many jokes about New Jersey. There's a reason I'm living in PA. It's much cheaper. It's a very expensive state. It's more expensive than California overall, long term, including taxes. It's crazy, expensive there. Nice. I love it there. I love visiting there. I grew up there. I spent several decades there. I grew up in South Jersey near Cherry Hill. So anyway, I have additional sightings. I had a DM. I have several DMs, LLNL, and they're also media reported near Camp Pendleton. Not over Camp Pendleton, but just near it. Camp Pendleton claimed that they didn't have any over there for the air base.
And that's in, I think, Oceanside, California, Southern California, if people want to orient toward it.
Yeah, so there's been many reports these things are car size. So these are not hobby drones. And you're going to see in a little bit that a lot of the announcements that were made make no sense if they were just hobby drones. So around this time, late November, early December, we start getting more TFRs. So sightings at military base and critical sites. Picatinny Arsenal, media actually filmed or videoed right in front of their gate live. We have the media video. So there was a media reported there were 11 officially confirmed, meaning the base said, yes, reported drone incursions by mid-December. Navy Weapons Station Earl, multiple sightings. Half a dozen drones are on December 6th alone. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, I love this. This is it's my favorite air base because it comes up in the UFO literature and lore so much. And you had their ATC traffic. I forgot all about that, by the way, earlier in the show. So yeah, they shut down the airspace for 4 hours. That's impressive. I'm impressed by the drones, how they were able to pull that off. That means that was a significant swarm. It wasn't safe to operate their airfield. This is like some of the most important airspace in the entire United States empire.
It's also where the air command is.
Yeah. So we've got
it's like the headquarters of like the Air Force.
We have head honchos in the Air Force hunkering down, wondering if they're going to regain control of their airfield. I think it's great. By the way, that was reported by CNN. We have the screenshots and video. So now Barksdale is kind of interesting. Officially, Barksdale has not had any drone incursions. Unofficially, we have a witness. We have his name. He's active on Twitter. We have his DD214. He keeps reporting drone incursions. First was started at the West Gate, then it went to the East Gate or East Side. He has videos. He's adamant. I've seen the videos myself that he sent to me immediately. He reported to me live while this was all going down, and he's sticking to it. And there were a variety of sightings. Some of them appeared like drones or like some kind of weird strangely illuminated jet airplanes. However, others appeared like orbs flying in formation, triangle formation. And he said that it tightly held these formations. That's what the video shows as well. It tightly held the formation as well. So Barksdale, by the way, there is news media coverage and other coverage that they are building facilities there to hold nuclear weapons. It's unclear. Who knows if they actually have them.
Specifically, it's to hold the nuclear tipped cruise missiles. It's also the home of the 2nd Bomber Squadron or 2nd Bomber Wing. My apologies, Air Force people.
It's a significant air base.
It's where they have B-52Hs. They're an aircraft that can travel with kind of one fueling 8,000 miles and deliver steel on target that, with nuclear weapons, basically. They would be the kind of the equivalent of the Strategic Air Command that would kind of deliver those over whatever opponent that we had. So it's significant from that standpoint. So I think it's called the 2nd Bomber Wing, not squadron, but wing. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the witness, the ex-Air Force fellow, he was panicking, and he also was talking. He was at the time, he
By the way, we showed that video. We showed his video in the
awesome.
In the intro.
Thanks. That's great.
It was the video right before the second cut of Sanford.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that is a video I'm very confident in because it came from him directly.
Because you have his DD-214.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's a public. It's a public. He put it publicly as well on his Twitter. So, he also said, by DM that he's talking to a lot of people in the area that are Air Force, ex-Air Force. And so there's quite a bit of concern. Okay, so this is something that I experienced live on Twitter. And at the time, it emerged from Reddit conspiracy, like some conspiracy forum. And so what happened was somebody posted this claimed intelligence bulletin live on Reddit. And this is December 12th. And then somebody DMs me, somebody from the media, and they're like, hey, check it out. And they're like, I'm like, that's interesting. Let's post this and then analyze it. And I just put up a disclaimer. I'm like, I have no idea if this is real or not. And so I verified this live the night of December 12th in the middle of the night. And from my research, OSN stuff, as far as I could determine, whoever composed this document did a great job. It did. I analyzed it very thoroughly, including its advice, the logos, the wording, the terminology, the phone numbers, the email. I think there's an email address on it. Yeah. All this was accurate. NJOHSP. All of this was accurate. And even if it was fake, the advice was good. So I don't think it did any harm to put it out there. So I'm like, I'm just going to put it out there, right? Well, then what happened is Ross Coulthart on News Nation and other reporters picked it up, and they contacted New Jersey officials, and they verified it. And then other firefighters in New Jersey started to post it. And then the Philadelphia Inquirer, is a big newspaper in Philly. They contacted the Mount Laurel Fire Department, which is, I used to travel through Mount Laurel all the time, by the way. And anyway, they received it electronically. This has been validated. This is real. This intelligence bulletin is real according to the Mount Laurel Fire Department. We have a name, Larry Fox, Deputy Chief. So that's fascinating. This was also mentioned on Fox News. And this was also mentioned on, as I said, News Nation. And so if you read this, it's like, request the nearest bomb squad. I'm just giving you little quotes from it. To include radiation monitoring, establish isolation and evacuation distances, 330 feet, et cetera, et cetera. Be aware that electronic devices and two-way radio systems may malfunction in the immediate area. These are not hobby-style drones. Whatever these are. These are...
Yeah, why would even an industrial-sized drone cause any electronics to malfunction? Like, why would a Predator drone, for instance, cause your electronics to malfunction? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And so this was... Yeah, this was, by the way, when I verified this live and then I passed it on, it was deleted from Reddit, like almost immediately, boom. So luckily, we took it and got it. We basically, it was like tossed from some fire guy, I guess. I guess he sent it to somebody who posted to Reddit, who then I got it, then it was deleted from Reddit, and then it went from there. It was kind of fun to experience that live. Okay, so the day before, Ryan Graves was reported. This has just emerged in the last, I think, a couple days, 3 days or so.
Yeah, 1 or 2 days ago.
Yeah, and so Ryan Graves testified, like I believe under oath. By the way, if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah, he was next to Grush. He's from the Americans for he founded the Americans for Safe Aerospace Group. He's a U.S. Navy pilot and a UAP safety advocate. He's posted on X that a Gulfstream jet. You might have mentioned this earlier, right, Sean?
Yeah, I did.
Off Florida coast. Yeah. at 27,000 feet. Okay, that's not a hobby drone, clearly. That's pretty high up, you know. Collided or nearly collided with a metallic object. One engine failed and was forced to do emergency landing. And so we have a whistleblower who contacted him because he thinks that the FAA is not taking it seriously enough. Okay, so December 18th, we get this interesting, this is a very rare daytime video that's interesting. So he's a USAF veteran, Matthew Nelson. He has an X account. He posted 2 videos. I think they're absolutely fascinating. Just outside Atlantic City. If these videos are real, we're not misinterpreting it, they look like what I think the Soviets would call a plasmoid UFO. They're really interesting, and I highly recommend you go find this, or you go look at my chronology. I link to it. They're amazing videos. And so the significance of this is that there is an airfield. There's several, you know, there's obviously Atlantic City airport there, but there's also a military airfield nearby. So, which might have no relation to this, who knows, right? But this is rare because this is a daytime sighting. This is what we would, I think, in the old timers would call a luminous orb. Okay. And also he posted descriptions of what he saw and whatnot there. Okay. So this is where things get really interesting. And part of this is from the media, and part of this is rumor. However,
this is Uri Geller, right?
Hold on. However, Uri only posted, the only thing Uri Geller posted was that, hey, he picked up news that a Nest team was scrambled. However, the media widely reported that the Salem and Hope Creek nuclear plants are having drone repeated sightings or drone problems. They deployed anti-drone tech, and they were unsuccessful in neutralizing them. You know, obviously that's a huge concern.
For the context, what's a nuclear emergency support team? Like, where's it from? What does it do?
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on Nest teams. I know that at the time this emerged from Yuri was picking up his own. I think he's in Israel. He was picking up his own OSINT or his own intel, and so if this is true, which makes sense because if you have unidentified drones flying over nuclear plants, the right thing to do would be to scramble Nest teams. That's why I included this here. If they didn't scramble Nest teams, then they were idiots and they should have, because you have unidentified drones which could crash into nuclear plants. And by the way, just to double down on this, these reports are official reports. So it has nothing to do with Uri Geller. Uri Geller only publicized the rumor that the Nest team were scrambled. And by the way, I think they were scrambled to the Fort Dix area, according to Geller.
Yeah, and just to provide more context, and I'm just using ChatGPT for real-time stuff, but a Nest team refers to a nuclear emergency support team, a specialized group of experts in the United States responsible for responding to incidents involving nuclear radiological materials. NEST is a part of the U.S. Department of Energy, DOE, and was created in the 1970s to handle nuclear threats, including terrorism, accidents, or any situations where nuclear threats are lost, stolen, or improperly handled. So their key responsibilities are fivefold. So detection and identification, emergency response, render safe operations, technical support, and then training and preparedness. In terms of their composition, they're usually composed of scientists and engineers from Department of Energy national labs, experts in nuclear physics, radiology, and weapon design, and then specialists in logistics, operations, and public safety. Okay, I just wanted to give folks...
It's a quite serious team, and so they were scrambled to the Fort Dix area. That's the rumor, and it makes sense. This, by the way, it emerged after we already had started hearing that the Salem and Hope Creek plants were being overflown by drones. So if it was made up, it actually makes sense. So it's I would say it's pretty good odds that the Nest team was scrambled. It makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. So public outcry and the mayoral briefings. So around December 11th, New Jersey State Police in North Jersey had a briefing. Hundreds of mayors were invited. It's unclear how many showed up. However, I do know some walked out in disgust. That was publicized. There was a lot of frustration. Belleville, New Jersey Mayor Michael Melham, who appeared in a lot of major media around this time as well after this, he gave great coverage of the briefing. He gave point-by-point summary, which I immediately got on X. We've backed up his video summary as well. We've saved it from Facebook. So the major, he covered it point by point, and all the points are on my Medium chronology. But the major takeaway I got from this was the governor said, hey, we want you to ban drones over New Jersey. We want you to ban them right now. And the governor, who in my opinion is incompetent, said, no, we can't do that. We don't know how to do that, blah, blah, blah. And then the New Jersey mayors got together and said, hey, this is a matter of national or local security. So the governor is just not well liked from what I can determine on X, by the way. Mm-hmm. So Phil Murphy. Yeah, it's like no imminent threat, but he has no idea what it is. But it's incompetency because, hey, you're being overflown. Your nuke plants are being threatened. You need to shut down the airspace of commercial and civilian jets. Like, this is not a big deal. We have TFR, way of doing this, and then they eventually did, but it took them forever. So it's just sheer incompetency. Everybody was saying on X.
Well, it was also Christmas, right? So if you shut down your airspace, right, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Because of the damage to commerce and things like that. So
yeah, but if your nuke plants are being threatened, you shut it down.
Well, if the government's telling you, oh, there's nothing to see here, move along, what do? That's the problem.
It's a huge problem. Yeah, it's madness.
A cluster.
The current situation is complete. It's a disaster. So yeah, just real fast, media coverage and government statements. Tons of media outfits have covered this. Major and local radio, newspapers have covered it. Although these days newspapers are pretty much dead. I found this really fascinating because I'm a fan of Judge Andrew Napolitano. Watch his show. Former Fox News host, retired judge and columnist. His farm was overflown, and when I saw that happen, I knew there's no way you're going to shut him up. There's no way you're going to stop him from talking about it. He went and wrote an opinion piece for the Washington Times, quote, "Shoot the drones down," which is right out of 1952. He also appeared on his show and said that his farm was overflown. So this isn't going to go away. National security officials made comments, mostly blowing it off, but they still made comments though. So we have Rear Admiral, obviously John Kirby. We had a video of him earlier. Major General Pat Ryder at the Pentagon, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Sorry, I'm from Jersey. I'm not necessarily
Mayorkas. Alejandro Mayorkas.
Mayorkas. FBI Director Ray. Hey, my medium's text is X. I'm a programmer here. FBI Director Ray. All of them made comments. Common theme though is we're investigating. No confirmed threat identified so far, but the reality is they have no idea. They'll go say things like, "Well, there's a lot of drones in the air." Or one guy, I won't say his name, at SCU goes, "Well, I'm a drone pilot. Who cares?" And it's just lots of drones in the air, and I'm sticking to it's all drones. By okay, guy. Okay, guy. Yeah. Anyway, so a couple days ago, I went to the TFR, the official website where you get these TFRs from the FAA. It was linked to from the New Jersey official website. I posted this on X as well. I just took a screen capture of the first few, a couple dozen through whatever. Yeah, there's a ton right now. Security TFRs over all sorts of areas, including some interesting, like for me, like personally, like near Camden, New Jersey, or over Camden. There was one over Gloucester, like all kinds of, near all these places are near Philly. West Deptford, like my family grew up in this area. I know all these areas. It's really neat. Yeah, so they're all these security TFRs are up. It's not going to, in my opinion, it's not going to make any difference, really. UAPs don't obey TFRs. Oh, by the way, in summer 1947, there were the predecessor of NOTAMs issued to pilots. In those days, they would actually just put in the airfield with a pin, here's what's going on right there.
And by the way, for people who don't know what NOTAMs are, just notice to airmen, right?
Yeah, they think they changed that recently, but it used to be notice to airmen. It's now something more, more neutral.
Without man, right?
Yeah.
Something anti-man. I got it.
Yeah, so late December is over at least approximately 22 similar bans near major New York infrastructure and airports. All right, so there's been a ton of debates, a ton of rumors, disinformation, misinformation, and insanity, in my opinion. Over it could be Putin's Russian sleeper cells. It could be Chinese, gravitic craft. Unknown domestic. It's people. Come on. There's just all these different rumors. By the way, this exactly the same stuff happened in 1947, and then in the 50s. People were back in those days. It was maybe it's V2s, maybe people are seeing V2s being launched. Well, that made no sense in 1947. They were only testing
because they have to
V2s.
land.
Yeah,
They have to land somewhere.
First, they couldn't even get to orbit. Like they could go up and they would come down nearby. Like they were only being launched at the time in 47 from New Mexico. So it made no sense that you'd see a V2 in New Jersey or Seattle in 1947. It made no sense. There were also rumors that it was some kind of Russian technology, Russian missiles, Russian drones, because drones, by the way, did exist back then too. Like, airplanes that would just, follow set patterns, things like that they would use for target practice or whatnot. So, they used to use the phrase robot drones back in 47 as well. So none of this is new. Everything we're seeing here in some way or form conceptually has happened before. We are experiencing a wave. None of this is new. That's why I think, in my opinion, the UAP people will be the most successful predicting what's going to happen and describing what has happened, because we are the people who study this problem the deepest. This is an unidentified, flying object kind of problem here. We are the experts in this particular mystery. Yeah. Anyway, anything here? Yeah, and the skeptics are going to say, it's just all drones. It's just all commercial. It's just all this, it's all that. But if you drill down and look, what they tend to do is they look at each individual thing. And they're like, oh, well, this individual site, well, that was actually, that was a plane. Yeah, that video shows a plane because it had blinking lights. Next. And they debunk every single individual thing. And then, of course, they wind up at the end. They're like, well, none of these were real, so nothing was happening. Go back to sleep. And actually, here's the problem with that. They're doing a huge disservice to us. Putting aside the unidentified aspect, right? One day, China or Russia, or who knows, Iran, they could get technology which they could deploy from a submarine or from a cargo ship, container ship. They could swarm American coasts with drones, and because we're being gaslit, right? We're being fed disinformation. People are going to ignore it, and then boom, Pearl Harbor. So we're also
being desensitized to it.
Yes, we're being desensitized, well, by our own people, which is not smart at all. So we need to stay ever vigilant to these sort of activity. My grandfather was at Pearl Harbor on the USS California, and he almost died. He had a lot of people, a lot of friends of his that died. So it's a serious situation. We have to stay ever vigilant. That's one reason I work on this problem, actually, because I knew my grandfather. He grew up in New Jersey, and I remember him quite well. Okay, so I have this slide up here. I'm actually not the huge fan of NHI. I'm more of a fan of crypto terrestrials at this point. There's a million theories we could talk about here.
Well, it could be. It's the same thing. NHI is just broader, right?
Yeah,
NHI could be ET. It could be crypto terrestrial, ultra terrestrial.
It could be advanced humans. I mean, it could be from 10,000 years.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing it couldn't be. That's the only one NHI doesn't capture.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. That's exactly what I meant. This could be advanced humans from 10,000 years ago.
But it captures everything else. It could be angels, could be demons, right? It captures all of that.
Interdimensional, exactly. Extraterrestrial. It could be all the above. Who the hell?
Right.
Who knows? Yeah. So some of the pilot observations: instant acceleration, silent hovering, rapid directional changes. They can outrun helicopters. No visible propulsion or heat signature in some cases. We've already talked about sensitive sites, but historical parallels. So if you go back, you don't have to go back to 47. That's just the time period I focused on. A real historian named Richard Dolan, who has a popular show on YouTube and an X account. He's had a very recent show where he covers a bunch of flaps from 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s all the way to 90s, and he compares and contrasts them versus what's happening right now. And I completely agree with him that what we're seeing now resembles prior flaps over sensitive sites and nuclear installations. So another interesting thing is we appear to be, I'm guessing here, somewhere near like the 80% point, I hope, or 90% point of the Ukraine war, I pray. And it has escalated to hypersonic MIRVs. And that happened on November 21st. There's a big crater now, in Ukraine, an old facility, old Soviet facility. It's been knocked down. Now, you could argue endlessly, how powerful that actually was. What was its actual yield? I'm not here for that. All I'm saying is I think it's widely understood that there's a war in Ukraine that has escalated. Now, this resembles in some ways World War II, where near the end, Foo Fighters, the orbs, started following our planes near the end, and it was a very big problem. So if we are being observed by some other intelligence, and if this is some sort of control system, as Jacques Vallée says, Dr. Jacques Vallée, then perhaps it's trying to, establish some sort of balance. As an author, I believe Preston Dennett talked about stuff like that on your show a few years ago. It's trying to keep balance. And basically, there's something bigger. There's something, more intelligent than us, or at least has its shit together longer than us. And it's trying to make sure that this doesn't escalate into nuclear war. That's just a theory, right? But it's awfully strange timing.
Making sure that we don't destroy the planet. Which
it's awfully strange timing that at the same time the hypersonic MIRVs come out, this explodes on the scene.
Well, that and the movement, the forward deployment of nuclear weapons.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Right. If I was an external intelligence studying us closely, and I'm sure they have all sorts of ways to monitor what's happening. They would have seen nuke assets being moved, hypersonic MIRVs being deployed and then shot, and successfully. They would have seen Capiston Yar's airspace shut down, of traffic. Mm-hmm. All of that would have been observable. Okay, so we got real fast additional sightings in Japan and Denmark. This came out December 22nd, right for Christmas. Iwakuni Airport, also right next to, I think either right next to or right side of that or whatever, or part of it is the Marine Corps Air Station, Iwakuni, Japan. Drone reports will close down an airport at a U.S. air base in Japan, and passenger flight traffic was diverted. I have some people from Japan. We tried to get more information, but clamp tight. We don't know anything more than what basically is in the media. Koge Marina, Denmark. It's close to Copenhagen. I guess around 25, 30-minute drive. Danish police. This came out. Danish police. This is in their media. Confirmed 4 drones were seen. Eyewitness accounts up to 20. They vanished over the sea at high speed. So I don't think these are hobbyist drones. No leads on origin. They're investigating national security partners. So this is happening all over. This is not just, U.S. It's not for sure positive. It's not just New Jersey. Okay. I find this fascinating. I'm kind of happy this happened. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base's airspace was shut down for 4 hours. We have the ATC traffic testimony. We have CNN reporting on it. It can't get any. The only thing we're missing are the leaks and the whistleblowers at this point, right? We need them. So this kind of speaks for itself. And this is a famous air base in the 40s and 50s. Supposedly, the Roswell bodies or the biologics, as we call them today, were moved to Wright-Patterson. There is endless testimony, and we have NDAs of some of these people or affidavits. Endless testimony that Wright-Patterson Air Force Base was a key air base in the early days of the UFO cover-up, where not only biologics but material was moved as well. I gather, from people who talk today, whistleblowers and figures and whatnot, that a lot of that material probably has been moved, but maybe the Blue Room is still there, where, who knows? Okay, this is this emerged mid-December. It was in a clip from The Hill, which is on X. I linked to it. This is real. This is not a meme that I composed. I'm not that good. This is real. And so as soon as I saw this, I'm like, Schumer had to be set up. Come on. Really? He's holding up a folder with a drone on it. This mirrors 1966. This screwed Dr. Hynek for years. Dr. Hynek came out and said that a bunch of recent sightings were just swamp gas. And it was total bullshit. And this hurt his reputation. Seriously. So, and I find it amazing that history again is repeating itself. Here we are.
Didn't in the same briefing, Schumer said something to the effect of something about lockstep?
Yes, Schumer said the word lockstep.
Why? Yes. Why is that significant?
Yeah. So lockstep, as far as I remember from reading a vast amount of stuff, lockstep is one of the words that would be used during a continuity of government type event. And it basically is a keyword or code word, which means all government, the hierarchy of government from local all the way up to federal needs to get in line, and we're taking control. So that's one word, and I have more. I cover more of that in a little bit, but we're definitely talking about what Lou Elizondo used the phrase a national security event in one of his interviews on News Nation during the wave. And so I believe from what he said that he was classifying this in the same category as national security events, and it appears to me that's actually the case because rumors of that emerged on Twitter, and there's actually a lot of indications that the shit really did hit the fan, and I'll show that in a sec.
This is a continuity of government scenario.
Yeah, basically. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it would make sense. Think about it from the government's perspective. You've got air bases being shut down, sensitive sites being overflown, arsenals being overflown, multiple continents, shit's hitting the fan. You're under attack. I mean, from their perspective, like an attack could be coming at any moment, right? This could be the beginning of an attack. And so I would expect them to go into continuity government or COG mode, activate the bunkers, and get their shit together because who knows what's going to happen next. And it turns out that there's a lot of indication of that, and I'll get to that in a sec. Andrews Air Force Base. So here's the deal. We have ATC traffic from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, forgive me, I don't remember the exact airport. We have one from Oregon. We have ATC audio there, and we also have Andrews Air Force Base ATC traffic. There's a commonality here. All the ATC traffic indicates that there was drone activity detected by pilots in the air. And so what I find interesting, once you put together a chronology, you can start seeing that, wait a second, we don't have just ATC traffic. We also have witnesses posting either videos or testimony on X right before the ATC traffic. And so on 12/2, we get an X post, quote, highly qualified witnesses, one is a military pilot, reporting that these objects in the videos I've just posted tonight are very large amber lights with no blinking, and that occasionally military jets are flying around them as if checking them out. They are immediately over Andrews Air Force Base. And then 12/14, tonight, Andrews Air Force Base Tower in direct contact with military and police helicopters over nearby drone activity. 12/14 as well, we basically, there's multiple corroborating data points showing that Andrews Air Force Base, which is near DC, had some heavy drone activity.
The other thing, this is not directly related to this. It might not be related to it at all, but it is correlated to prior incidents in the past. But there was also in November and December in Montrose County, Colorado, 180 head of cattle just disappeared, just gone, right? Each one of them is between 500 and 600 pounds a piece, and they just, no one knows. Like maybe there's cattle wranglers that got a hold of them somehow, and but it's just the timing is really weird.
It's weird. All. Yeah, I tweeted that when I saw that news article. I'm like, oh, that's strange. I kind of made it a joke, with the UFO emoji picking up the cattle, But anyway, it's unarguable that we've got this audio. You can check it out. I linked to it from my Medium post on X. And there's also a lot of witnesses. Something happened. There's also around this time and earlier, there emerged videos of weird things near the Capitol. Are they planes? Are they orbs? Are they mystery drones? I don't know. But there was a lot of stuff going down around DC in this time. There were also sightings reported many, like 50 miles to 75 miles from DC north of it as well. I remember that too. So, get to legislation and official investigations. Representative Nancy Mace, who's been very vocal about UAPs in general. December 7th, she got, I think it was on December 6th, she actually got the briefing. After a classified error briefing on anomalous drone incursions, she said, quote, there are certain shapes consistently that are unexplained. Now, whether or not she was talking about like the previous events or the mystery drone wave, I'm not really sure, but it did happen while near the peak, by the way, of these events. The peak, by the way, seems to be, the peak of reports is roughly around December 8th to the 13th, roughly in that time frame. Also, the peak of videos that I happen to save is around that time as well. And the peak, by the way, these peaks are very important to identify. A lot of interesting things happen, 1 or 2 or 3 days around the peaks. There was a congressional briefing December 17th. Actually, there's multiple briefings. It's kind of hard to keep track of all the briefings that occurred. There was classified sessions held in December, House Oversight, Intelligence Committees updated by FBI, DHS, DOD. I also, from memory, CIA. Some lawmakers proposed more robust drone tracking and neutralizing authorities. It's kind of ridiculous to me. Like if you've got something unidentified that's refusing to leave, and it looks like a drone over an airbase and it's shutting you down and endangering aviation safety, come on, do something. Okay. Also, now I know for sure that on December 18th there was a big Washington D.C. working group meeting. Now I know this. It was on the space economy and also included UAPs. I know this because it emerged on X, and I also have connections to people that attended the briefing itself. So, and it was mostly about the space economy, but it also included some discussion about UAPs. But this information also emerged on X as well from multiple sources. So I think there's also a big meeting on December 17th as well. So a lot of big significant meetings happened. Local measures, I've kind of already covered this. New Jersey mayors were adamant you need to shut down the drones if you're not drone flights by shutting down airspaces. And if they said that if you weren't going to do it, then we are through local ordinances. Okay, so these are official maps from New Jersey State Police. It was publicized by the New York Post. We have total reports on the left and 12/13/2024 reports on the right, just for one day. Now, you'll see there's a large area near Wharton State Forest in New Jersey that doesn't have it has no reports. The reason why that is a lot of the state forest land, that's the Pine Barrens. So basically it's just all wooded, very flat generally. You can hike through it, but it's pretty dense. There's a lot of swamps. I've been through it many times. I've hiked through the whole thing. So that's why there's a big empty area there and kind of near the kind of bottom middle of New Jersey. It appears to be, looking at this, that it's mostly over north central Jersey. There's a good, very dense cluster of reports. However, it's also the coast, all up and down the coast, and mostly central.
And to be fair, the population is mostly clustered in the. So
yes.
It could just be there's just more eyes. Right?
Yeah, I'm from South Jersey. I'm from South Jersey near Philly, so I'm less familiar than North Jersey. And we would go through North Jersey on the turnpike, and it would stink to high heaven up there near New York, and we were like, so I didn't get to North Jersey much. And I mean, back in the day, 20 years ago, 25, it really stunk. Chemical plants and stuff. My father used to work up there in North Jersey in a chemical plant. He also worked at a chemical plant in Camden, New Jersey. So anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot less there. I believe, there's a lot less. It's definitely further apart. There's a lot of forest land and stuff down, preserves and stuff in South Park and farms. Okay, so we kind of covered this a bit. The DHS and FBI are like, it's just legal commercial or hobby drones or manned aircraft viewed at odd angles. And my response to that is, so what? Historically, around 80-90% of reports are explainable. That doesn't stop anything. All it takes is one. That's it. And, we've got a lot of unexplained activity here. And so the counter arguments are, we've got, pilots like Ryan Graves, Leroy Chow, Dr. Leroy Chow. They have had witnessing close calls. Both of them had close calls that defy basic detection or flight patterns, evasive maneuvers, the high speeds, no transponder signals, or abrupt disappearances. The anti-drone or UAS, UAV countermeasures don't work. No known success with that. New Jersey State Police helicopter gave up chase for safety reasons. The media reported that. So let's go forward. Okay, so I just wanted to just put together a slide like the types of objects that have been described or have appeared in videos. So large car-sized drones have been described. We've got a variety of different sizes, usually like 6 feet-ish or so, car size. They've reported up to 15 to 28,000 feet. However, we've got ATC traffic on the West Coast up to 55,000 feet. Some described as triangular. It appears to be when people are describing triangular craft, they're actually describing, I think, 3 different drones that move in unison. Some of these things, I've seen videos where it appears to be an orb, a luminous orb, and then over time, it develops blinking lights. Is that real or not? I don't know, but there's multiple videos showing that sort of emergent behavior over time where it changes. Sometimes you see videos or reports of things that look like planes, but many have looked at these videos, and sometimes the lights are just weird. They look wrong. And I'm not an expert on how they should be illuminated. I also know there's landing lights and stuff like that, so lights can be turned on and off. However, a lot of locals have reported, here's the deal. I grew up in Jersey. I grew up right next to the Philadelphia International Airport. I had planes flying over my head constantly. Mm-hmm. In New Jersey, you learn your air traffic. You know what it looks like. Like, you just know, like, if you live, especially if you're near an airport, that's a plane. You get used to it, right? You don't mistake. Generally speaking, I'm sure people will anyway, but most of the time, like you'll know, oh, that's a freaking plane, right?
Yeah, and the only time you might mistake it, or you might have a question, is if it's so high that it barely looks like it's moving. But there are ways to detect that. In fact, Rich, we had, where I live, right? I called you and I'm like, hey, can you look this? This is this time. It was moving from, north to south. What do you see on the kind of tracking site? And we were able to quickly identify two aircraft.
Yeah, it's not that
extremely
hard.
high altitudes.
And that was a few hours. I was like an hour or two before you called me. I was able to go back in time. So a lot of people are learning how to use ADS-B and flight radar apps, things like that. But if the locals are saying something strange is going, and the New Jersey State Police are saying it, New Jersey FBI, Coast Guard, personnel guarding nuclear plants, Picatinny Arsenal, I could go on and on and on and on, right? If they're saying something's up, we should listen to them. Oh, New Jersey fire professionals. Yeah, something's up. Metallic spheres have been observed. There's images and videos on X. Luminous source, you kind of covered all this. Okay. Possible misidentified aircraft. I think that's totally possible. I totally think in the hysteria is a part of a UAP wave. It's a madhouse. People just go nuts. They start looking up and they'll start posting things. Who knows, right? Okay. So kind of covered some of this already. It's like history to any UAP, aficionado, anybody who's read the key books or has studied this problem closely, history is repeating itself. We're seeing a UAP wave of some sort here. I got to say that if you go back in time to 2019, 2020, there were reports, many of them, over Colorado and Nebraska, and recently on, I think it was News Nation, where a couple police have come on and they said, and I actually summarized their appearance, they talked about, how these drone swarms actually have been appearing over Colorado and Nebraska a lot, and they're unresolved, and it's a big problem out there. Persistent nocturnal activity, strategic interest in nuclear and military sensitive locations. I find it interesting. I kind of commented on earlier, mainstream media is still crucial for understanding this, so we can't be too hard on them. Mm-hmm. There are some differences, though, today compared to, say, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Modern drones are now a thing, right? So any kid can go on Amazon, buy something, and it can go hundreds of feet in the air with lights, right? People can put blinking LEDs on balloons, just throw it up in the air, right? Cause a hysteria. So we've got that problem. They didn't have that problem in the past. There were no, drones like we think of today back then. Social media is available. So now somebody can post something and immediately worldwide it could be seen. So never have we had like this kind of intense communication, real-time ability as we have now. Cell phones now, people can immediately make videos and then boom, post them. And the problem with this is we get these kind of waves are a data generation event. So this is why my theory is this: we catch the hoaxers and debunkers and scammers by surprise. The wave comes in, they don't pick up that there's a wave until days or weeks later. So if we capture the early videos, I'm hoping that that'll be a better signal than if we wait a few weeks. After a few weeks, hysteria has kicked in. And there's now a kind of a benefit to posting hoaxes because you'll get more views, which if you're monetized, you'll make more money, right? So,
and there's also desensitization, right? So it could happen at the exact same frequency, and people are just going to be less likely to report it because it becomes normalized.
Yeah, exactly. And so we got about 35 minutes left. So in my opinion, many ex-UAP influencers, these are accounts with many, many followers. They totally.
A lot were burned. A lot were burned on this in terms of intelligence assets.
Yeah.
And by the way, Sean Ryan may have been burned or at least blown up by some not false, but that email he got from the Cybertruck guy, right?
Ross Coulthart shines through though. News Nation. He was totally on the ball. Totally on the ball on this. He's the best, in my opinion, covering and in the media covering the situation. A lot of this data actually is from his show in one form or another. Okay, so here now we're going to there's some more data. You can interpret this however you want, but I think there's a compelling case to be made that there's something happened that's really interesting. So this one makes perfect sense. We're talking mystery drone hysteria. People were searching for mystery drones. The peak was December 14th. Mystery drone, I put it in quotes, search traffic. You can just go to Google Trends and do the search yourself, and you can see this yourself. So I recorded, my goal was to record all of these graphs because they will get lost, in a month or two. So it peaked. In my little world, we call this the Hatch peak, was December 14th. That's named after Larry Hatch, one of the guys who compiled 22,000. It's a programmer, 22,000 database of 22K sightings decades ago. Top state, not a surprise, New Jersey. Vermont, I don't know why Vermont shows up there. I'm confused by that. New Hampshire and then DC. Why Vermont and New Hampshire? I don't get it. Maine, why do they show up as the top states to be searching for this? I don't get it. But anyway, it did. They did. Now we're going to get into some juicy stuff. This is where the shit hit the fan. Now, if Pine Gap in Australia is listening, they're going to be really interested in this. So the shit hit the fan. Continuity government. What does COG mean? It's a program to ensure the survival of essential federal government leaders and agencies in the event of a severe crisis. This could be, nuclear warfare, or something attacks the president or cabinet members, or a nuke plant, or biological situation, whatever, right? It's called COG. You go look it up. Now, what's interesting about COG is when we asked Dr. John Alexander, famous man, at an SEU conference a few years ago, we officially asked him a question. Hey, did MJ-12 or Majestic 12, is there anything like that? Did it ever exist? Does it still exist? Whatever. And his comment was interesting. He said he asked General Stubblebine about it, and Stubblebine said it's very, very secret, but from memory, this has something to do with continuity government. There's nothing with UFOs, is what he said, which I found interesting. It makes perfect sense. So you can look that up, by the way. The video of him saying that is on Rumble and a few other video sharing services too. So I thought that was really interesting, right? So anyway, the shit hit the fan. And here's, first of all, there were rumors on X. So during the peak of the flap, I purposely started to trigger some people who I think were connected. They were IC adjacent. They're shills, as we call them on X. We started to purposely trigger them to get them in a little fight. So we do this, we shit posting. We get to do this all the time on X, right? This is an old American tradition that goes back like hundreds of years, actually, in newspapers. And so we started the shit post, and they started to leak things. And so they leaked something called continuity government, or COG. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I started to research it. So I started to research, what does that mean? What search terms would people running around with their hair on fire use? Well, I searched for the obvious thing, COG. Oh, look at that. A little peak. Not a very strong signal, but still a signal. December 12th, 2024. A little peak there. That sounds kind of interesting. Then Elizondo, around this time, middle December, he said national security events, not referring necessarily to the mystery drones, the wave, but just in general. He said that on News Nation. Okay, I searched for FEMA operations. Oh, look at that. It poked up around December 5th. That's interesting. Now, to be fair, there were some spikes, around mid-October and whatnot, but not sustained. We're talking a sustained little, a bunch of search traffic there. Okay, cool. Let's look for Mount Weather. There's a COG-related area, facility there. I don't know if it's still active or not, but there's some kind of FEMA thing there. What the hell? Let's search for it. Oh, look at that. Mount Weather, sustained increase in search traffic.
Yeah, I think officially it is no longer used as a continuity of government site, but I think there are
some kind of FEMA operations center or something. I don't know.
But I think there are signs that may not necessarily be the reality of the situation.
Well, maybe the people searching for it didn't know that. It's certainly interesting. Look at that. Okay, let's go forward. National security event. Oh shit, that popped up too. Okay, let's keep going. Hazmat response. That popped up as well. And by the way, you can do this to your search. You don't believe these graphs, you go search for them yourself. Go to Google.
Yeah, it's weird that it sustains itself too.
I know.
Like you have the spikes and now it's sustaining. Right.
I'm not saying why these are spiking. I have my theories. It's strange. This keeps going. National continuity. So what I did, I just Googled,
this could also be related to the transition with Trump too. Like there's going to be that element.
It could be, although they certainly spike all around the same time. Oh, FAA ban. That spikes a little later, but there was a little trickle after December 5th. By the way, national continuity is a phrase used in a COG context. That's why I searched for it, which is interesting. Okay, keep going. Alert level procedures. Oh, look at that. They spiked up too. It's December 9th and, around that date. Notice a trend. Why did they search for that, by the way? That's weird. Okay,
I don't know. What does that mean?
These are all phrases found in public continuity of government documents or websites. These are all public phrases. Anybody can find them in 5 minutes of searching. Any high school student with a Chromebook can do it. Readiness conditions. I searched for that. I'm like, oh, let's see what we got. Well,
Have you looked up ThreatCon at all? That's
I
another
haven't.
one.
I'll write it down. I'll look it up. Readiness conditions. Why did they search
That
for
would
that?
that term would have spiked right before.
I'm ready to do it live. It would be easy to do. ThreatCon.
Yeah, actually do it. You don't have to show it on your screen, but just if you could do it.
Yeah,
live,
we'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end. We'll do it at the end.
Emergency response directives spiked up. Now that's not Trump re-election. I don't believe that's an emergency response directive search. That spiked up right around December 9th. All right. Operational status is spiked up December 9th. Well, actually, December 5th it spiked up, and then it peaked at December 9th. That's interesting. Why would they search for that? I don't understand. Okay, so that's that. I have more graphs on X. So, and if I'm going to go through real fast so the viewers can see it. A lot of these things spike up around the same time. Something happened at lockstep. Okay, so here's my personal conclusions, and I have a few more slides after this, though. Some bonus stuff. My major takeaways: there's obviously an ongoing coordinated drone or UAP activity near sensitive sites worldwide. I think the Pentagon has tried to claim they're not related. That's bullshit. Something's happening, and it's been happening for a while, but it's massively spiked up. And the reason why I believe it's coordinated because it's appearing over U.S. military air bases and sensitive sites in multiple countries. So official responses include TFRs or flight restrictions, multi-agency investigations, legislative moves. A significant portion of the sightings remain unexplained. Several indications that COG protocols were initiated during early December. Rumors of a Nest team move to New Jersey. And the rumors make sense, even though it came from Mr. Geller. Rumors and narratives of the day are flowing at warp speed, just like previous flaps decades ago. The official response was slow and inept, extremely unimpressive. If this really was an attack by China, we would have been screwed. New Jersey's airspaces should have been immediately shut down to civilian and commercial drones. The mayors were demanding it. The New Jersey governor dropped the ball. And they used an old Watergate-inspired phrase, the UFO cover-up is still intact. The UAPDA wasn't passed, which was stupid. So now it's a giant freaking shit show and circus. Thanks. And so that was my conclusion to the main part. I have a few little odds and ends. Tom DeLonge is appearing in the major media, and they're summarizing an Instagram post he made, which makes perfect sense. This was him in December 14th. He said, and I agree with him, that these things involve some sort of transmedium travel. It's very hard to do. They can hover for 6 hours. They disappear. Hard to get any facts from U.S. agencies. This is history repeating itself, and he's pointing out, official documents from the 60s describe events that are very similar to being described right now. So here we are. History is repeating itself. And Tom DeLonge, he's been talking about UFOs for years now. Richard Dolan, I mentioned him earlier. He's a Cold War historian. From what I understand, he started to research UFOs because in his Cold War research, he kept stumbling on wait, why were the Soviets involved in this UFO-related stuff? What's this all about? And so he's had some great shows, which I've watched and summarized, talking about a lot of details in here about how this current wave resembles strongly many previous waves. And one last thing I have on here, unrelated to the mystery drones completely, but I posted this on X, just giving us some historical context here. The day after Roswell's author, Lieutenant Colonel Philip Corso, his DA Form 66, which is his military record, it's on Wikipedia. And you can look at it and go, well, maybe it's fake. Well, hold on. So I've been searching for his name throughout newspaper archives, and it turns out that it's possible to corroborate his DA 66 through Army orders. So back in the old days, the U.S. Army would summarize all their key Army orders for people, and they issue newspapers all over the country. And it turns out that Philip Corso was moved from the Army some kind of special operations coordination building 8720 in Washington, D.C. He was moved there in June 56 to Fort Bliss in around middle or so, or early October 56. It turns out the newspapers corroborate his DA Form 66. And it also corroborates that he was involved with Army Special Operations. So that fun. And by the way, this is just tip of the iceberg. I'm getting a lot of Corso hits. So, and by the way, Corso, if you're not familiar with his book, he talked about the early days of the UFO cover-up and how he was a witness to the Roswell events because he said that he witnessed crates holding biologics being moved around at a base. And he was also I believe he was like on or directly adjacent to the Eisenhower's National Security Council in some capacity. And he basically was taking crashed debris, exotic materials, and handing them out in the 50s. Part of his tasks were handing them out.
He worked for General Trudeau.
Yeah.
What they would do is they would seed these technologies into various organizations.
Yeah, exactly what we would do.
Secretly. He called it the nut file or something like that. Is what
he would tell them. By the way, there's corroboration for this. Some of the corroboration comes from people we have NDAs for, like June Crane, who had a very high clearance, who worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the 40s and 50s. And there's also other witnesses who said that we had large amounts of catalog materials at, I believe it was Wright-Patterson. Yeah, it was Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So these materials were handed out by Corso, and he would tell them, it's from some Soviet crash. Check it out. It's weird.
Yeah, tell us what it does. Maybe you can use it.
In the back of his trunk, driving around with alien artifacts. And eventually in the 90s, several whistleblowers emerged. One was June Crane. There's a book, Tell My Story, by Detective James Clarkson. And I got her NDA forms from James Clarkson personally, and I put them on GitHub. And I also questioned James Clarkson, detective, quite carefully, because I investigated June Crane myself through public records, and I wanted to make sure he was legitimate, and he is legitimate. He did.
Yeah, and we also interviewed him here and showed a lot of those documents on this channel. So June Crane was the real deal.
Yeah, and so in my personal view of the situation, Roswell absolutely happened. Other crashes very likely happened in the late 40s. Aztec 1953 happened. We've had many instances where air bases, Washington D.C. was overflowed. This is an ongoing problem. This is nothing new. This is an emerging situation, and if the information I was shown and others were shown, at the Seoul conference from a couple of years ago or so is true, the stuff that Colonel Nell showed about disclosure is true. This is all going to come out in this century for sure. It's going to hopefully come out in our lifetimes where they're going to disclose. It's just sooner or later. It gets to the point where if we don't disclose, we are setting ourselves up for failure. We need to disclose, ramp up a new Manhattan Project to better compete against China and Russia. To better compete against BRICS. We are holding ourselves back with this obsolete cover-up. It needs to go. It's also making us less safe because now we are being lied to and gaslit about mystery, drone incursions over our own airspaces. Everybody needs to be brought up to a base level of knowledge, including military, including police, Coast Guard. Everybody needs to know these things are real. It has to happen because they're putting our entire system in danger. Eventually, adversary will explode.
And that's particularly why it's dangerous, is you have pilots flying extremely expensive and extremely dangerous aircraft that are being confronted with things that they have, they've never seen before. They have no briefings on or understanding of, and they may react in a way that, I don't expect this advanced technology to hit these pilots, but these pilots might panic, flail out of control, and crash into a subdivision somewhere in rural Ohio and kill a lot of people, like harm a lot of people.
Here's what, if I was Iran or China or Russia, I would observe the situation carefully, and I would go, you know what, the American people, we're being lied. They're being lied to. They would know this phenomenon is real. They have their own history with it. All the major powers have their own materials. They know it. So if I were them, what I would do is, if they're going to do a drone attack, they would do it in such a way to exploit the fact that our own people are being gaslit and lied to about this phenomenon.
And desensitized.
Oh,
there's another drone. Oh, looks like there might be a missile on it.
And so
they told us nothing to worry about.
The reports that should come in are not going to come in because the situation right now is a total and utter clown and shit show. We need to stop lying to ourselves.
We would call this in the military, we would call this whole incident a negative training event, right?
Yeah.
It's a negative training. This is for the same reason we don't, when we red team against U.S. tanks, for instance, the tanks that I would work in did not look like M1 tanks because you don't want to train U.S. tankers to fire at U.S. made tanks, right?
Yep.
Same
100%.
effect, right?
So that's my thing. That's what I've got so far. We have about, I think, 20 minutes. We have 16 minutes left.
No, we got more. We got 26 minutes because it ends at 10 after the hour.
Oh,
so
why
don't we play? Why don't we play with Google Trends?
Yeah. What did you want to search for?
ThreatCon.
So threat. You like that?
Yeah, it should be threat and then CON as in
one was one word.
Yeah, ThreatCon. Yeah.
Hold on.
That's weird.
Hold on. No.
Whoa.
There it is. Interesting. It spiked January 4th. That's interesting.
So just for context, I want to say we went to like ThreatCon Bravo or something like that 2 weeks before 9/11 happened when I was in the Army.
Yeah, and who knows why this spiked up, but it did spike up.
I mean, it could be a
anything.
Pending terror attack. It could be.
Well, you know what makes sense? Listen, we have those recent terrorist incidents, so who knows, right? Or this is unrelated. It could be completely. This will be one little spike, right?
But that's a very specific military term. If you have
let's back it up.
Try ThreatCon Bravo.
Let's do a 1 year. Let's do 1 year. Hold on, we got. When was Trump? When would they try to assassinate Trump? Do you remember?
Well, let's find out. I'll find out while you're.
All right. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, because we have a spike. July 7th, July 13th, June 30th.
Hold on.
To July 6th. Oh wait, hold on. Notice too. Wait a second. Hold on. If you look. ThreatCon actually starts spiking up December 22nd. That's not, who knows what this really means, but somebody was searching for it, which is fascinating. But June 30th.
Hold on. Okay. Apparently, the first attempt was June 18th, 2016. Apparently.
Oh, that's when it spikes up. Look, June 30th to July 6th.
And then no, but that's 2016. So.
No, I wanted to.
So there was a significant attempt in July 2024.
Yeah, July 7th.
At a campaign rally.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I was thinking about. Let's just get the exact date. Multiple assassinations attempts.
I'm just gonna, because I have that.
Here it is. Sorry,
July 13th.
Yeah, July 13th. So okay,
when was the spike? When was the spike?
July 7th to July 13th. Right there. You can do this, but anybody listening or watching can do this themselves. Just search.
Yeah, but the creepy thing is, it's the spike began before the 13th.
That is kind of weird. I don't know.
That means somebody in the military had warning about something.
I don't know what that's about. That's weird. Oh, by the way, so it turns out that this little spike here, I mean, yeah, this actually starts emerging in December, late December, sorry. December 22nd is when it seems to spike up. So this starts spiking up here too. I find it curious. It doesn't mean anything necessarily, right? But I never even thought about ThreatCon.
Didn't you look up this might be related to the telepathy tapes, but didn't you look up telepathy and something happened?
I did.
This might be related to
this is probably tapes. We're thinking this is related to the telepathy tapes right here. Yeah. It does spike up and sustains, and so they've gotten quite a bit of views. I know it's been competing against Joe Rogan's show, so it's probably the telepathy tapes. But telepathic dream. I posted a bunch of these on X. I just found an hold on. It's weird that it's not showing up. I posted a bunch of these on X, so let's see here. Yeah, small
When was
spike
that?
on December 3rd. So during the flap. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but let's zoom out. Yeah, just that small. That's just that small spike.
Why is California highlighted?
That's a good question. Don't know.
It's only California.
Yeah, so maybe we could take questions, or what we should do, Sean? You should show.
Yeah, we can definitely take questions right now. I'm sure people have a lot. So I'm not gonna take anything that was current. I'm just gonna start.
You know what we can do, by the way? I can bring up the actual chronology. I think that's worth showing real fast. So here's the actual chronology. It's on Medium. This is all the information I just presented.
By the way, did you look up Lockstep? Look up Lockstep really quick.
Oh, that is a juicy one. Hold on.
And then somebody's asking Die Hold too. We could do that one really quick. But
oh
God,
look at this. December 23rd. Sustained. And it spiked here December 13th. Oh, that's significant. The first spike, by the way, the first spike's November 25th after the wave started. Spike, then sustained.
Look up PEAD, PEAD, Presidential Executive Action.
Spike on December 22nd.
That could be related to what's
be.
his name? Eric Davis interviews and stuff like that. Okay, look up Die Hold, spelled that way. I don't know where this is going, but
well, I need to know why.
We can find out.
December 5th. One spike. That's
weird.
Around almost near the peak. From
in Idaho.
Idaho. I don't know what's Die Hold.
I don't know, Jalea. Can you provide some context on that? What Die Hold is? You could look up the fog, but I think that's just. I think people are cracking. I think that's what that's about.
Lockstep significant. Let's see what else. What have we searched for that's interesting? So we have Lockstep. This is telepathy. Yeah, I'm actually saving these because they're so useful. I think Lockstep so far is the best signal. Yeah. So here's the problem with this. It's kind of interesting. So it turns out that 12 months. I went past 90 days. A foreign adversary could monitor search traffic to gather intelligence. That's one reason I'm pointing this out.
Wall Street's been using this since it was available, by the way, just as somebody that used to use it a lot. So this trend data is very, very useful. All right, here's the first question. So given that this is seemingly the longest flap in history, how long do you guys think it will continue? I don't
know if first of all, is it the longest flap in history? I mean,
I don't
I mean, here's the deal. The summer of 47 wave was really only
he did say seemingly, so I'll give him the benefit. David, the benefit.
It was only approximately 2 to 3 weeks, summer 47, and then it didn't really. The next big waves didn't start till 1950. And then we had massive wave in 52, which was the all-time historical peak of reports. And then over France and parts of Europe, 54, and then 57, and then 66 and 67. It depends on how you define a wave, right? If you go look at Dr. Jacques Vallée's books, he has graphs, and you can just see that these things just come and go. But here's the thing. If what we're getting is actually feedback, if we're part of a control system, it may actually depend on the Ukraine war itself. So, for example,
the human response.
Yeah,
right.
If we keep moving nukes around, if Kapitsan Yar or whatever airspace keeps getting shut down and they keep cooking off the MIRVs, I personally expect this to intensify. And it hasn't gone away; it's happening right now.
Until at least the 20th. There might be, if it's going to stop, but it wouldn't be the 20th, right? Because the new administration is not going to have a chance to.
Yeah. My personal prediction is until the Ukraine war simmers down, it's going to stay. That's my personal 2 cents prediction for what it's worth.
Now, and the next question that's related to that is it going to escalate? So I think people have seen my Twitter prediction about what was going to go down to the beginning of this. And there were 10 items, 80% of them have come to pass. The last 2 that have not come to pass are landings and entities.
Yeah.
And sorry,
Well,
landings /
let's-
entities,
we-
and then abductions, which we won't touch because I know you get.
Yeah, I'm not an
nervous about
abduction
that
man. I'm not. That's too much for me, you know.
Yeah.
But listen, we did get. I think I have a couple reports that I've seen or have been DM'd in South Jersey where the drones would fly, and I didn't tweet these on purpose. The drones would fly, as the claims go, up to people's houses and illuminate through windows. There's a couple reports of that kind of behavior. I don't know if it's true or not, but we've got a couple reports from different people. So, and I purposely didn't report that because, let me be honest, like during a wave like this, I was going to release my 700, well, at the time I had 700 videos, but I realized hoaxers could take those videos and remix them endlessly. And so I've held back. Like, I don't want to give hoaxers an easy, video repository to go cherry pick from. It's the same with events like when you're told that the drones are flying so close, they're illuminating people through people's houses. I don't want to retweet that because first, it's feeding hysteria, and second, that.
Although Judge Napolitano was one of those cases.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, his farm is overflowed. But this was up.
But he specifically said it came up to his outside his window.
I didn't. Okay, yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, there's more corroboration then. But I've received my own reports that was happening as well. These drones are illuminating people's houses, and it was freaking people out. And so I held that back, just because I wanted to see where it went. Right? Would that appear? Apparently, it did.
Okay, so thoughts on the manifesto from Las Vegas bombing, particularly the Groom Lake anti-gravitic tech BART.
Yeah, so here, I've gone. You go ahead, Sean. Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, while this very podcast was happening, I think the Sean Ryan podcast was simultaneously doing like a Twitter space. So I'm obviously going to lose a lot. I'm going to lose to him. But I mean, high level, what's in the actual, like the contents of the actual, the email that showed up in the Sean Ryan show, I would say with a high degree of confidence that it was bullshit.
I agree with you, except here's the deal. I analyzed it overnight. I just kind of let it simmer. And I realized this is what we call in the Fordian space, Charles Ford.
Oh yeah, it conveys information for sure. There's information to be derived.
Fascinating.
It's like a meta analysis of it, right?
Yeah.
So the actual content is not is taken at face value is BS, but analyzing why they chose to put that particular content in that piece of mis or disinformation is where that's where you're probably going. So I'll let you go. I don't want to.
My personal opinion is this document, I first discarded it. I'm like, this is bullshit. But I realized, wait a second, you're doing what debunkers do. You're being binary. That's not how the space works. As soon as it mentioned UAPs, gravitics, USAPs, immediately, wait a second, hold on. This is a Fordian document. It's not 0. It's not 1. It's perhaps somewhere in the middle. And so let's look at the overall gist of it. The gist of it is, first of all, it mentions UAP. Then it mentions USAP. And it mentions top secret, specialized compartmented access or something like that. TSSCI, I think. Hold on. This is not your usual conspiracy theory. This is getting in the UFO world, right? Then it mentions the mystery drones. It tries to say it's Chinese. But I realized, what if this email is real? And what if this guy actually did send it, but he was working off incomplete information or disinformation fed to him? Think about this. U.S. military, it's like an onion, right?
Yeah, and I didn't comment on that. I'm not making a claim about Sean Ryan or Sam, whatever.
The system is going to have to keep military morale up and panic down while air bases are being overflowed. The stories they're going to tell the military are probably going to differ from the stories they tell the public, right? And so they could be telling the military, hey, this is actually potentially Chinese drones, high technology. They have it. We have it too. Looking at that email through that lens, maybe this is actually real. Maybe it's bullshit. The contents are bullshit in terms of, I don't think it's China. Many others don't think it's China either. However, maybe he was told it was China. That's kind of what's so complicated about this.
I think Sean Riley just got this thing. He had to make a quick decision. Didn't have time to truly vet it, and he just had to make a call. So I'm not gonna.
Yeah. By the way, if somebody hoaxed this, there's information in that document which I personally think is reasonable, meaning were very close to World War III because Russia keeps saber rattling over. Nukes are being moved around. We're desensitized, but nukes have been moved around. MIRVs are going off. That's some saber rattling there. I would say that's some serious shit. And
it's very dangerous.
Yeah, Ukraine war is flaring.
It's dangerously escalatory. Right.
Yeah, and that's what the email states. So the details of the email some of them might be bullshit, right? But the overall, I think
almost every part. I mean, of the Sean Riley version, because there's two.
But maybe here's the deal.
That went out, right?
That makes it a perfect Fortean mystery document because it gets everybody debating, arguing, and chattering about it. It's in Newsweek. It's all over the media. It's wherever this came from is very clever. Wherever it came from.
It definitely stirs the pot, particularly about anti-gravity, right?
Yeah.
Why seed that into the discussion? Why? It just seems wackadoodle, right?
Yeah.
To the average normie.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, as Dr. Eric Davis has said, he was given classified briefings to the Senate a few years ago during the COVID pandemic, right before it. All the major powers have had their crashes, and I believe that's believable. The Soviets admitted to having materials in the early 90s before the USSR collapsed. So at this point, I think we all have our stuff. And it's well known, this is even on Wikipedia, that there was a gravity research program.
By the way, though, it's like those three powers aren't the only powers that have.
That's the rumor. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that Russia.
I know of a fourth personally from somebody I know personally.
Yeah, so we're basically. I think David Grush was saying it's all the superpowers are racing to figure this stuff out, and that's
not just superpower. It's not just superpowers, by the way.
Yeah, and that fits our warlike nature. Like we just take the tech and we just want to kill each other over it. But if we actually did this, if we utilized it correctly, imagine the energy production problems that could be solved, the pollution problems that could be solved. Like we're just holding ourselves back, Anyway.
Or the ecological problems that it might cause. Right.
True.
Like I think you're the one who told me offline about
paradox.
What if some lumber company decides that they can chop down trees at an accelerated rate all day, all night in the Amazon, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? You're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. So Jevons paradox would be that in energy, in oil and things like that, when it becomes cheaper or more efficient to extract a resource, ironically, we don't use less of that resource because it's more efficient to utilize it. We actually turned out we use more. And so if you introduce free energy or some sort of super, concentrated, cheap, energy generating device into our system, we would probably wreck our biosphere quite rapidly.
So how much trash would we generate? We would just
pollution, right? Chemicals. It would be a disaster. So, maybe they shouldn't introduce it, right? Maybe they should hold it back. But the thing is, whatever crashed at Roswell, I know of two narratives. Whatever crashed in the Roswell area either was radioactive, and radioactivity counts did go up when they flew over the sites, or was it radioactive at all? I don't know what to believe. Both are interesting. But whatever crashed, was it gas-powered or diesel-powered or jet fuel-powered?
It would have exploded, right? What are the other? So what are the UFO flaps' effect on populations?
Yeah, and so there's a lot of commonalities. Like there's hysteria, there are hoaxes, there are what you could label in some ways collaborators. So looking back at 47 in the newspaper, there's approximately 20,000 newspaper articles that I think I've found so far, just for the summer of 47 flap. That's just from memory. It's over 10,000. And what you see this is kind of interesting. You see initial media reports are high quality or really good. Pilot reports, high quality. You get military reports, you get a lot of good commentary. Over time, hysteria kicks in. You get hoaxes. You get what appears to be all kinds of strange activity that seems to be designed to make people confused, right? You see not just hoaxes, but another layer of activity. Like in summer of 47, for example, you see a lot of strange metallic discs falling from the sky and landing on people's backyards and over their roofs and stuff like that. Sometimes when they fell, there would be this big blue flash. And by the way, there's many, many cases all over the country of this kind of thing happening in summer of 47. And the FBI themselves were running down and trying to track down what was going on as well. You also see in summer of 47, what you see is the authorities themselves have no idea what's happening. They're completely confused. You see total confusion. I also see, from my perspective, the Roswell announcement of July 8th, 1947 was for morale. I mean, maybe it wasn't purposely ordered for morale. It just emerged for morale, because we got to think about World War II, right? Like, we just came out of World War II, and that was hell. And then we're now, our entire country, 41 plus states, Canada and Mexico, were being overflown by mysterious craft. It might be Russia. It might be an enemy. Who knows? It might be NHI or ET back then. So we didn't know. It was causing a big uproar. And so when we released on July 8th, 1947, that we had captured, which is military terminology, by the way, especially back then, we had captured a craft that had crashed. That was a big deal. And for approximately 12 hours, 12 to 18 hours, something like that, the United States, all throughout the United States knew, and by the way, the world knew, we had captured something. And that went to UK for sure. The Roswell Army Air Force phones were off the hooks back then. By the way, a lot of the information was suppressed. The wire reports were being actively suppressed back then. And kind of like what we're seeing now, what you see now is complete madhouse and ineptitude, and just, nobody knows what's happening.
Let's so the next question is the JFK video from tonight real? Let's actually watch that. I can share.
You show. Okay.
Yeah. I had it teed up. I'm
gonna stop sharing because I don't have anything else to share.
Okay.
I'm back.
All right. And I'm just gonna play this really quick. I don't know if there's gonna be sound or not, but it's kind of weird how they just.
Yeah, and so if this video is real, because I know by default I never trust videos. If this video is real, though, this is not a plane, because there's three or four of them. It's
definitely not a plane, because they're hovering.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're coming in, landing, or taking off.
And they're definitely not stars. They're definitely not Venus.
Yeah, and it doesn't look, at first glance, a lot of the recent hoaxes are extremely sharp and look like they're just obvious, silly VFX renders, right? So if this is a hoax, it's not your usual, my first, VFX hoax kind of deal.
Plus, you have the reflection from the camera, right?
Yeah.
You see the three lights.
Yeah. Yeah, but let's just say these are UAPs. This is clearly, it's showing itself, in a way that if these are UAPs, it's clearly showing itself. By the way, if it's over an airport, that's pretty obvious. It's interfering in some way, potentially, with flight operations. So if you go with my personal take on this, is that we flared the Ukraine war to a dangerous level. We're close to World War III, and we're being de-escalated right now. That's my personal 2 cents on this situation. The phenomena, the control system is showing itself and basically anxiety spiking the establishment. And it's doing it in such a way, though, that it's discreditable, which fits if you go back to an author like Preston Dennett, who's written a bunch about this, for example. It does it in such a way.
The question is why isn't this person zooming in on these things? You can obviously zoom.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. However, there's supposedly, I don't know if you believe it or not, but there's a witness on X who claims that there was many people seeing these things, over the airport, and it was causing quite a stir. So take it with a grain of salt, because that could just be the hoaxer posting, tweets on X. Who knows? But the thing is,
right? And it could be
there was a press conference, though, at a New York airport just 48 hours ago. I actually posted the video myself on X as I got it from Forbes, YouTube, Forbes Breaking News. So there was a press conference, and they're really pissed off that their airport is still getting overflown in New York. I think it's New York City. So I covered it. It's in my Medium as well. I covered it. So yeah, at least the airport. It's Gabrowski Airport, Suffolk County, New York. Yeah, they held a big press conference on January 3rd. We have the video. It's on X. It's on YouTube. And they basically, they kind of contradict themselves. They're like, they were sternly warning the public that there are potential legal and financial repercussions for operating drones in restricted airspace without permissions. There's all kinds of violations, could be hefty federal and state fines, blah, 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 blah. They warn, children to get drones. These are not toys. However, they said the drones are as big as cars. So, I'm sorry, these aren't hobby toy drones. There's something else going on. Yes, Suffolk County Fire Rescue and Emergency Services plans to deploy an advanced drone detection system at Gabrowski Airport. And my prediction is this, and I think it's pretty obvious. It's not going to work. This is advanced technology. Good luck. You're not going to stop it. It's going to outsmart us. And by the way, if we were able to counter this technology, the phenomenon would likely reveal something even more advanced. So it's called cultural tracking, where this phenomenon, in my opinion, and other researchers' opinion, goes back to at least the 1880s, 1890s, late 1890s.
Right, with the airships in like 1897, and then flying saucers.
So something is interacting with us at a deep level. It's so deep that grays are a meme. Like you see little, stickers and logos showing the big bug-eye gray, and shit like that. It's part of our culture. It can't be covered up. It refuses to go away. It's still here. So, enjoy the show, right? The authorities are just going to run around with their heads on fire. And they're going to gaslight us. They're going to spread narratives. It's China. It's drone motherships from Iran. It's Putin's sleeper cells. None of this is new. You just enjoy the show. And I love debating on X about this. I think it's great. I hold firm that what's happening, UAPs are real. There have been crash retrievals. This has been covered up. The cover-up's breaking right now. There's going to be disclosure. UAPDA, just read the UAPDA. Schumer himself talked extensively about it, in Congress. Like, this is a real situation. It blows people's minds that it's real. I'm kind of getting used to it. I've kind of been through most of the ontological shock, I guess, but not really, because I'm still amazed.
Well, you haven't seen one close and personal, so
I have actually. I think I have. I don't know. I oscillate back and forth over the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Actually, I had a triangle.
Well, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a craft. I'm talking about like an entity.
Oh no, I haven't. I haven't seen it.
I think that's when the ontological shock.
I'm sorry. I don't want that to happen. I think that would be pretty hardcore. I'm good. I'm good. If anything,
I'll interview one. If one wants to,
Yeah, I'm
probably fry my brain, but
I gotta say though, I don't like doing this kind of research at night. It leads to nightmares, strange dreams, really strange dreams. I can't. I stopped. I can't. 7 o'clock. Although I'll go on Twitter about it, but I won't watch things and stuff. It's just too much. I can't watch my favorite '80s miniseries V anymore. It's just it's just too much. Even though it's silly.
Right. Any final words for the audience?
Wow, enjoy the show. More is coming. Let me think. Is there any final words? New Pluto's here. New age. So great changes. Great changes are coming.
All right, I'm going to play some music, but I'll connect with you afterward. So thank you everyone, and see you all soon.